Hey, so we're live today. Try to get on a more consistent schedule here. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. The audio sounds all good. GoPro sounds good. And then let's just double check here that this works too.
Said that this is money from Russia's sovereign wealth fund, but in reality, we're talking about $300 billion of assets that belong to Russia's central bank.
Yeah.
This is U.S. dollar denominated assets.
Gotcha.
It's actually mostly
so that seems to work.
Euro denominated.
Dope. All right. Well, everything seems to work. The stream seems to be up. And obviously shit will go down because that's just how this goes. And yeah, I'm just going to start frickin' Uber Eats, Uber driver. And then, yeah, we'll start going, go. Usually, we more try to start downtown, but whatever, we're all ready to go. And then we're gonna start today off just listening to some shit today. And, oh, cool, we got an order. Which is here. Yeah, $5. Alright, we'll do it. Accept.
Head to your pickup at Dig, Harvard Square.
We'll navigate. Awesome. Ride the bicycle there. Dope. And it's basically like go to Harvard Square. Alright, what are we gonna start listening to today? I think the go-to. We're gonna go to with, oh, there's another little buzzy buzz, which is this. Dig Harvard Square. Includes expected tip for $3. That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, I actually like this. This guy's pretty interesting. I'm curious what he has to say. Geopolitical Economy Report by Ben Norton. Alright. And, yeah, we'll listen to this
Some major changes are happening in Mexico that can have a big influence on the global economy. On the 2nd of June, the people of Mexico went to the ballot box, and the left-wing candidate, Claudia Sheinbaum, won the presidential election in a landslide with 59% of the votes. She represents a direct challenge to the political and economic elites who have dominated Mexico for many decades. Unlike most politicians, she actually comes from a working-class background, and she's a scientist. She has a PhD in engineering, and she was previously...
But now we're going to go on to our first domestic politics story of the day. Let's get to it. As always, corruption in the United States, but we're a developed nation. We're above corruption. Oh wait, no. U.S. Congressman Kular. U.S. Congressman Kular, indicted for alleged Azerbaijan influence scheme. Henry Kular, a Democrat, accused of accepting bribes in exchange for advancing interests of Azerbaijan in Congress. Please note that Azerbaijan has taken over Nagorno-Karabakh, which was an ethnically Armenian enclave in Azerbaijan, by force via their massive military advantage over Armenia. And they essentially committed an ethnic cleansing where everybody in Nagorno-Karabakh just fled because they're like, we're just going to get exterminated by the Azerbaijanis. A lot of them got taken by the secret police in Azerbaijan. Regardless, Azerbaijan doing a little territorial conquest, and we have a sitting Democrat congressman. Wow, lovely. A congressman accused of accepting bribes. A member of the United States House of Representatives from the state of Texas, Henry Kular, and his wife have been indicted on allegations that the couple accepted nearly $600,000 in bribes in exchange for their efforts to influence legislation that advances the interests of a Mexican bank and a state-controlled energy company in Azerbaijan. I mean, look how, easily bribable. $600K for a country like the United States is freaking nothing. And Azerbaijan is a massive natural gas producer. So they have a ton of money. And $600K is really not that much to bribe an official. It's crazy what these officials will do for cash. The federal indictment unsealed in Houston on Friday accused Kular, 68, and his wife, 67, of conspiracy and bribery as part of an influence peddling scheme. Okay, so what's crazy is also his age. He's 68. It's fantastic that we have all these old, corrupt individuals just making the decisions for the United States. I love that. That's great.
U.S. Senator Bob Menendez stayed silent as he arrived at federal court on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, this is Bob Menendez. Oh, again, another Democrat. Another Democrat. Yay. Those Democrats really sure be not doing corruption, right? Again, we live in a two-party oligarchy. The Republicans bad, but yes, Democrats also bad.
Where he and his wife, Nadine, pleaded not guilty to a range.
Look at all these people with cameras trying to make their bag. Good for them. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing, but it's just funny.
Of corruption charges, including passing secrets to Egypt. The judge set his bail at $100,000.
Look at this fat old man determining the laws of this country. Fat, corrupt old man determining the laws of this country. That's great.
$1,000. A day earlier, one of his co-defendants, Egyptian-American businessman Wael Hanna, also pleaded not guilty.
The senator and his...
This is about a different case, but again, Democratic corruption. Who would have guessed that? I thought the Democrats were the good guys. They cared about people. Oh, and they're also massively corrupt. Who would have guessed that? So, look at this. So the payments for not the Menendez case, that was a different case, but the payments to the couple went through a Texas-based shell company owned by his wife and the couple's 2 children. According to an indictment, the company alleged received payments from an Azerbaijani energy company for $25K a month. I mean, come on. What are we even doing here? Yeah, so it's just... Yeah, the charges come months after U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, also a Democrat, was indicted on allegations that he accepted bribes in exchange for political favors, including advancing the interests of officials with the Egyptian government. There's a little tweet here. We're going to get back to it, actually. Little tweet here from Hassan Abi. Hassan the Hun. Holy shit, look at that. God damn, gets a lot of engagement. So, U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife have been charged with bribery, unlawful foreign influence, and money laundering schemes. So cool that the Democratic Party knew about this and feds did a sweep and still chose to lend their support to the most right-wing Democrat who is anti-choice instead of his younger progressive opponent who lost by 300 votes. Holy shit, I did not know that. So we have a motherfucker who is anti-choice, is anti, letting women have access to abortion, and is purely corrupt. And they're like, "Well, he can win. He can win in Texas, so we're gonna give him all the money instead of his younger progressive opponent." Let's see this guy. Immigration attorney. Holy shit. I mean, like, what are we doing? Like, we could have had an immigration attorney, a young woman, a person of color. I'm not all about the just the skin color and the age and the sex or gender of our officials. I don't think that matters so much. But when you have only old white men, they tend to think a certain way, and it's not usually good. When you have younger women in power, yeah, they can be co-opted, and they can kind of suck sometimes. But, at least there's potentially some more diversity in there. And it looks like she was progressive. She was progressive. So, last thing on this is just, we usually do it legally. We usually do it through legal means. And, we just have a super PAC donate unlimited quantities to your campaign. And then afterwards, you give speeches to them. So the way that our normal corruption works, if you're a smart congressperson or senator, what you do here is, and this is from a old not friend, but old acquaintance that I knew that worked for a former senator in Massachusetts and Harvard. And now that senator, who voted for all of the bank deregulations, now gives $25K a pop speeches to Goldman Sachs every quarter. So he just makes a cool $100,000 from his speeches, who Who writes the speeches? My old acquaintance. So that's how the normal corruption in this country works. They get unlimited money from super PACs. They do the bidding of these people, and then after they kind of finish up their time in Congress, they get, they do speeches, they're on the board, and they just get funneled money that way. And that's purely legal. In this case, they're just more brazen. They're like, hey, the normal corruption mechanisms aren't even good enough for me. I'll just do massive upfront corruption. Wild. Now we see what our boomer parents are being fed by the great news source of Fox News as they tell us what's really happening in America. And we have the glorious, respectable bipartisans talking about all of this in Tulsi Gabbard and Holden Bloodfest, as we will see here.
There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students. There is no place for hate speech or violence of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination against Arab Americans or Palestinian Americans. It's simply wrong. As president, I will always defend free speech, and I will always be just as strong in standing up for the rule of law.
Yep. You're always defending free speech, as in democratic cities, in New York City, with Democrats running the entire freaking state and you being the president, they're going into Columbia and cracking skulls and arresting the protesters, because that's what free speech is all about. Because when you protest for things I like, you shouldn't be cracked down by the state. But when you protest for things I don't like, the state should beat the shit out of you. It's the rule of law, dude. It's the rule of law.
If you were getting a sense of deja vu,
look at these little piglets on bicycles, and look at these guys in riot shields for college peaceful protesters. It's just insane.
That is because that was live right about this time during this hour yesterday. And we've had 24 hours to try to digest those few little words that he took 9 days to say about the chaos and the hate that have taken over America's college and university.
The chaos and the hate. The chaos and the hate. Again, we showed you the Holocaust survivor that was firmly anti-Zionist because the Zionists took over Palestine with machine guns, with bloody, blood on their hands, and massacred the people that currently lived there and displaced them. So, we just went over that. And if the Holocaust survivor can get it into your brain, I don't know what will. So, no, but it's all anti-Semitism. It's all Hamas. It's all anti-Semitism, Hamas. Hamas, anti-Semitism, Hamas.
Campuses. Critics are ripping into him. His delay.
Look at these piglets on bicycles. Oh my gosh, charging them down. As a pro bike person myself, this is insane. It's the only time these guys get their exercise, though. The piglets got a oink sometimes.
Reaction, and what they say was a weak and politically calculated response. So it was certainly legally written, every word of it. One headline has this explanation: Biden tries threading the needle on campus protests, and the Israel.
Biden tries not to lose every single vote possible as he supports genocide for the 7th month in a row, as babies are being carpet bombed by the tens of thousands and flesh is rotting off their bones, and we see mass graves of people being zip-tied beneath hospitals. No, he's it's problem with him is he supports anti-Semitism.
Hamas war. Yesterday on Focus, Senator John Kennedy said he knows exactly why Biden's doing this.
The mayhem you see is an effort to put pressure on President Biden, and it's working. President Biden,
I love this. I love this. It's actually Holden Bloodfest, and we're just going to show you this meme here. We're going to show you this Holden Bloodfest meme. Yeah. Y'all need to see. Let's see what we got here. Y'all know what it is. I'm Holden Bloodfest from my I'm 118 years old. Please, let me just give more money to Israel so I can see more rotting flesh one last time. Respectable bipartisan, by the way. I'm a respectable bipartisan. So Holden Bloodfest.
Respect. He is old. He is weak. He knows he has to have the Hamas wing.
He's old and weak from the guy Let's see here. John Kennedy, Louisiana, age 72 years old. Yes, the pot is calling the Kennedy. Oh, sorry. It's a Freudian slip here. The pot is calling the kettle black. The pot is calling the Kennedy black. My God.
The Democratic Party.
Oh, wait. Did he just see the...
Dope. It should be working now. Let's see. Huh. Okay, that is working. And then my fucking... And... Go here. Ready. Okay. Go live. Start broadcast. Okay, dope.
But the fact that it was a non-factor. Mexicans didn't care about that. They voted for her because she represented the continuity of the fourth transformation of Mexico. And I think that's the part that I would emphasize when we're thinking about Claudia Sheinbaum. And it's interesting also because it's an extraordinary profile. As you said in your introduction, climate scientist, member of a group of scientists who won a Nobel Prize, has a doctorate, educated in the U.S. But, you know, if you actually go back a little bit into her history, she cut her teeth in the student movement, defending the right to education. There's even a picture of her protesting a Mexican government when she was studying in the U.S. This is a woman who has made her career of defending the interests of the working class, of the marginalized, just really quite an extraordinary profile. And I think that if she was running in some Western European country for some liberal party, she would be a darling. She'd be on all the headlines. Oh, the future is female, that kind of thing. But of course, no. She's running on behalf of a political project that is threatening the interests of U.S. capital, that is defending national resources and national sovereignty. And so that's why you see this effort to kind of minimize who she is. I think the country is incredibly excited about what it represents. One thing to be part of that history, you know, I did an interview with the coordinator of Young Women, Gracia Alzaga, and she said, you know, this is something that we're doing for our great-grandmothers, our grandmothers, you know, that we're being elected not just into the legislature, but to the highest office in power. That's really significant. I mean, my mother, when she was born,
hello,
didn't have the right to vote.
Hey, just picking up an order.
Now we have a female president. But what it, policy-wise, like I mentioned, she's going to continue the transformation. What does that mean? Well, we've seen it under López Obrador. Historic investment in the most marginalized areas of the country, this effort to attend to the needs of the working class, putting them front and center. I often say we should admit that this is a government that is polyclassist, right? There are different classes represented. Do you know who's in the driver's seat?
Thank you.
Their interests are first. That's why we've seen an increase in the minimum wage. That's why we've seen an increase in the standard of living. This is why we've seen a dramatic drop in poverty.
Cool.
You know, 5 million people who used to be living in poverty no longer, and it's thanks to the investments. You know, some of the infrastructure, the mainstream media loves to talk about López Obrador's pet projects, right? They're not pet projects. You know, projects like the Trans-Isthmus Corridor, the Tren Maya, these are historical investments in the most forgotten parts of the country, to finally pay attention to them, and she's committed to carrying that out, to following through. And I'll end with this, because one of the things she always talked about on the campaign trail, which I think speaks to the way that she kind of envisions her government. López Obrador, when he came in, basically had to clean house. The country was in very dire straits. We were in the midst of a very serious political crisis. And he, in fact, you made a great point here sharing the information from a Gallup poll. He's restored faith in Mexico's institutions. And she is talking about building the second floor of that. She gets to build on that foundation that López Obrador is leaving. I think she is very well positioned. We've rescued the state oil company. Now we'll have more resources to be able to invest in the population. I'm a family man, and I can't wait to see what Claudia Sheinbaum does for Mexico and for me and for my working class family.
You mentioned the fourth transformation. This is something that was declared by the current left-wing president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, known popularly simply as AMLO. And can you talk about what he means by the fourth transformation? It's this kind of almost revolutionary process. And also, can you talk about the political party that both López Obrador and Sheinbaum are part of, which is the Morena party, which stands, as an acronym, it stands for the National Regeneration Movement.
Our next story is going to be labor
kind of its origins going back
labor
to the
issues in general,
Cardenistas,
as you know,
which, you know, this goes back to the Mexican Revolution in the 1910s, and there was this very left-wing
moving forward
nationalist
past this stage of
Lázaro Cárdenas, who famously in the 1930s he nationalized the oil company,
schemes and
then later
ideas.
future governments
we're
also
to react to a more
nationalized
perfect union video. They do
the energy grid. This is something that AMLO really emphasized when in his
all this profit that I'm generating is going to Nestle, and I'm struggling to make ends meet and be provided a living wage is really demoralizing.
It kind of breaks my heart that the whole model that cafes operate on is rampant exploitation of workers.
My cafe, I know, made just under $1 million last year, and I made $27,000. I know that I can make a $7 latte in about 1.5 minutes, so in about 5 minutes, I'm making my hourly wage.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pure exploitation. This is how capitalism works. You have the labor theory of value. It's pretty simple. Let's just get into this real quick, actually. Labor theory of value. If you have a good, all of the parts of the coffee cost 15 cents, including, you know, the per coffee part of the machine. So the machine costs $10,000, but per coffee it costs 5 cents, whatever it is, right? And you sell the coffee for $2, you're making $1.85 per coffee. The worker is getting paid another 15 cents, or they say 35 cents or something. So there's $1.50 of profit that goes somewhere, and you say, well, some of it goes to capital expenditure. That's fine. Okay, take out 30 cents for that. So then you have $1.05. Okay, some of it went to capital expenditure.
Okay, just a little bit right, because this is too far away, I think, from my pro. So change this is, well, let me finish these words
in what the fourth transformation is, what Morena is, and what they represent in Mexican politics.
I think it would be correct to view Morena as the people who have inherited that legacy of being associated with that very long, very rich left-wing tradition in Mexico. And it's been a bit of a confused history, right? You know, we had the Mexican Revolution, the first revolution in the Western Hemisphere of the 20th century, a huge social uprising that really was only eclipsed by the Russian Revolution. Right? It was very significant. We've seen mass participation of an armed struggle against dictatorship, against the interests of transnational capital in the day. And that actually ties into this moniker of the fourth transformation. So what does he mean when he talks about that? The first transformation was the independence struggle, right? The effort to free Mexico of the yoke of Spanish colonial rule. The second transformation was the liberal period under Benito Juárez, who implemented these liberal reforms in that period. In the 19th century, we know there was a lot of struggle between liberal and conservative forces. And then the third being the revolution, and this one now. I think you're right. I mean, it's on a par of revolutionary change. So that's how significant it is. And in fact, when he threw that slogan out there, that moniker, they used to be like, how arrogant is López Obrador? How dare he put himself on the same level? Well, you know, we're almost at the end of his term now. And I think it's safe to say that this is the fourth transformation. It does rise to that level. It's not just, oh, another party was elected. It was a change of regime. It was a change of the actual order of things in this country, and consolidated now with this election result in 2024. And so, you know, Morena was actually only founded 10 years ago in 2014. And it was born out of a result of the fact that the left was basically orphaned. So we had the Mexican Revolution, and that process was probably its highest expression was Lázaro Cárdenas, as you mentioned. He was a general in the Mexican Revolution, and he very much wanted to actually fulfill the commitments that the whole process had actually made to the population of redistributing land, above all, of using the natural resources of the country, the incredible wealth that exists in Mexico, for the benefit of the population. But obviously that process kind of started to degrade in a sense. There was the foundation of the Institutional Revolutionary Party, which is such a funny name, right? It's such a contradiction.
It's like a game. Little on I mean, it's fascinating to see that in just the 1850s in America. Or I feel like in history that's how economic of Mexico, and then the political is kind of and it's the same card, but a part.
And now we're going to do some really, really dumb content here, which is just pure audience bait, just absolute pure nonsense, where we talk about two dipshits that are being dipshits. And we'll get into it here. I'll give you the preview. Aiden Ross reunites with Andrew Tate. Oh my God. If you don't know who either of these two people are, thank you. Bless your heart, bless your soul.
Andrew R.
The
says,
reason why
meet at door.
I'm reacting to this, the reason why I'm even bothering talking about these two absolute troglodyte morons, is because there are so many young, impressionable men out there. And I say men because no woman is going to listen to these two fucking morons spout their misogynistic nonsense and be like, that was a great point. Really loved hearing that I shouldn't have rights. But some young men are going to say, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Women should be in the kitchen making sandwiches. It's nonsense. It's bullshit. No woman, self-respecting woman, would ever choose these guys over someone that is just a nice human fucking being. Ask any of them. Somebody that's in a long-term relationship, somebody that's engaged to be married to a beautiful, beautiful woman. This is not the answer to get babes, to get laid. Honestly, my theory, the answer is hot yoga. But regardless, let's listen to what these dipshits have to say.
I'm good. Have you been up to anything constructive?
Yes, I have been, actually. Can we have a conversation without yelling at me? I'm sensitive, man. I just want to... Who are you talking to? Who would you just nod your head at?
One of my females have instructed her to make me a coffee.
Which I do want to vouch, by the way. He treats very...
I mean, what do you even say to that? What do you even say? One of my females who I've instructed to make coffee, you're in Romania being charged for sex trafficking, you fucking monster. Like, if these are the people that you're looking up to, understand that you can go to fucking prison if you act like these scumbags. All right?
His staff all the way, very, very respect. I just wanted to point that out there.
Very, very respect. Just want to point that out there. I'm just respect. LeBron James in the background. Respect. Yeah, and just so you know, this guy was cucked by his ex-girlfriend. So that's great. And this guy's going to prison. So these are your role models. These are who you're looking up to, kids. Yeah. Probably should stop doing that.
It's true, you do.
Good. Did I hurt your feelings last time by asking you about how the banks and the money work?
I was honestly being very ignorant. I was going through a sensitive time. I was very vulnerable. I was and I'm sorry for my ignorance, and I apologize. To you, directly, for real.
Yeah. No. So this is what we call a dick suck. So he's sucking his dick because he has a dick that has more clout. So this guy goes like, to this guy because of the clout. Okay, so this is what we call a dick suck or a dick ride. Okay, just want to so you know what it is.
I look back at it, and I was being ignorant. I'm very sorry about that.
Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're on the quest for knowledge. You're prepared to take the journey. That's what matters.
Hey, man, it's all about taking accountability when you're wrong, right?
Exactly. So what have you learned?
Now we're going to get into some sad news, but you have to cover really tragic things, and this is a very sensitive subject. And if you're listening to this and you're a friend of mine and you're sensitive about this issue, I'm sorry, but here is something clear as day, which is a Holocaust survivor talking about what's happening in Israel-Palestine. And make no mistake about it. Let's see. What does he say?
I saw in Auschwitz that if a dominant group wants to dehumanize others, so as the Nazis wanted to dehumanize me, these dominant group must first be dehumanized in a way themselves by diminishing their empathy due to propaganda and indoctrination, in order to be able to be as cruel as some were. Okay, but the same holds nowadays for Israel. I am appalled about how hateful, how dehumanized, that they do not see any human aspect in any Palestinian anymore. It's terrible. The Zionists have not any right whatsoever to use the Holocaust for any purpose. They have given up everything which has to do with humanity, with empathy. For one thing, the state, the blood and soil, just like the Nazis.
This is a Holocaust survivor. If you can't hear it from him, you can't hear it from anybody. This is a Holocaust survivor from Nazi Germany. And Double Down News does this is from Double Down News. But they do a great job at interspersing the propaganda footage and the dehumanization rhetoric that Israel's using. It's the domination of one subgroup to another subgroup and the dehumanization. This guy is such a fucking G for explaining how this whole process works. And again, if you can't hear it from a Holocaust survivor, who can you hear it from?
I was educated, I learned at school about blood and soil, and that's exactly their idea too. And humans do not play a role. Judaism, as I learned it, is highly ethical, and so
right now they're showing the protest at Grand Central Station that happened a couple months ago, where it was the Jewish Voice for Peace. These are all Jewish individuals protesting the genocide that's happening in Gaza. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is not about Judaism versus Islam. This is about a colonizing force using its overwhelming firepower to bomb a group back to the Stone Age, killing 10,000 plus children. And if you can't hear it from a Holocaust survivor, you can't hear it from anyone. Your brain is closed off.
Cannot connect Zionism with highly ethical. You can only connect the words aggressive, oppressive, stealing, robbing with Zionism, but not highly ethical. Zionism and Judaism are contrary to each other because Judaism is universal and humane, and Zionism is exactly the opposite. It is very narrow, very nationalistic, racist, colonialistic, and all this. There is.
It's a colonizing force. Zionism is fundamentally based upon colonization. When you understand that there were people in Palestine, and then after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire and the end of World War I, and then obviously after World War II, the British were just like, yeah, go on, take that land with machine guns. Go take it. Go take it. Well, if you're going to base your state around the murder of the people that are currently living there, your state will end up being an oppressive regime. Blood and soil, ethnicity and land. You claim this land is your own because of your ethnicity. It's not a good thing. And it's one of the cruelest parts of history that the Jewish people, who a Holocaust was perpetrated against them. This man, a Holocaust survivor, has to see the state of Israel, which does not represent Jewish people, commit these mass atrocities, these mass crimes. It's horrible.
There is no national Judaism. There is Zionism and there is Judaism, and they are completely different.
Never again for anyone. Never again for anyone. This is Hajo Mayer. He's a Dutch Jew and Holocaust survivor and spent his life fighting Zionism. He passed away in 2014, but a decade later, his words are as relevant as ever. You know what this shows? You know what this shows? He died in 2014. He didn't need to see the flattening of Gaza to know that when Israel colonized Gaza and the West Bank, colonized Palestine with machine guns, forceful displacement of everyone that lived there, that's just what happened. They just went in there with machine guns and they conquered. And now they have these people in their open-air prisons. And he saw that in 2014. This didn't happen on October 7th. There were massacres in order to colonize this piece of land. So let's, again, if you can't hear it from a Holocaust